Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. In this outline demonstration video for this week's practical topic, which is female reproductive system, we are going to discuss the physiological features of ovary, uterine tube, uterus, vagina, and mammary gland. In the practical, we are going to skip the portion of cervix and vestibule, which will be discussed. The physiological features of which will be discussed in your theory classes. If we talk about start with the ovary in most of the animal is oval in shape, and it consists of two different regions where the components of an ovary is present, and those two components are outside covered by a simple squamous or simple cuboidal epithelium, which is termed as germinal epithelium. Below that, there is a very thin layer of connective tissue, which is in case is labeled as tunica albuginea. Before going to two components of the ovary where the structures are present, different structures of the ovary are present, I am just going to elaborate that the word germinal in this nomenclature, germinal epithelium, doesn't have anything to do with the development of ovum. It is actually a name given initially, but the simple squamous or cuboidal epithelium is just a part of serosa, which is covering all the abdominal organs, but that serosa layer epithelium here is named as germinal epithelium. But to make it sure, this germinal epithelium doesn't have anything to do with the development of follicles or development of oocytes. Next, moving inward from germinal epithelium and tunica albuginea, the inner part of the ovary is divided into two regions. The centralmost region in the ovary, where there is connective tissue and only blood vessels are present, that region is termed as medulla of the ovary or medullary region. And the surrounding area from all the sides, the surrounding area where all the development of the follicles are happening, that particular area is termed as cortical region. One thing to understand here that the from embryonic age, the oocytes are arrested at a particular developmental phase, and they will remain the same in all the developmental events if they are not fertilized. All the follicles, all the different levels or types of follicles which will be found in the cortex of an ovary will have the same arrested stage oocyte there. And then the surrounding structure will change. We will discuss there in detail. The structure which we will found different types of the follicles and the structures which are found in cortical region of the ovary. They are primordial follicles, the very initial stage of follicles which are there in the ovary from embryonic age. They will persist till an animal become puber, and then after getting the puberty, cyclic activity of female animal, there will be the development happening in these primordial follicles. Then there will be different type of follicles as well. Then there are primary follicles there. Then there are secondary follicles, growing follicles, and then there are the most mature follicle, which is termed as pre-ovulatory follicle, Griffin follicle, or tertiary follicle. So these are the follicles, and when the follicle is going to rupture to release the ovum at the end of the cycle, then the remaining portion of this ovary follicle will change to another endocrine structure, which is corpus luteum, which is going to produce different hormones. So basically, the production of ovum and the production of different hormones from the ovary tends to give it a name that ovary is a gland which have both endocrine and exocrine function. Exocrine function is basically the release of the ovum, which is being catched by different tubes of the remaining female reproductive tract, and the endocrine gland is termed on the basis because of the production of different hormones by different cells which are present in ovary structures. So till now, what we have discussed that ovary is outside covered by a simple squamous or cuboidal epithelium, single layer, that is termed as germinal epithelium. Below germinal epithelium, as indicated in this schematic diagram, this brownish area layer is a connective tissue layer which is going to surround the ovary from all the sides. That connective tissue layer is termed as tunica albuginea. And then inside tunica albuginea, this cortex and the centralmost area where the blood vessels are present only, along with connective tissue, no follicle. Follicular development is happening there. That part is termed as medulla. One uh, you can say that uh, the difference from this particular structure present in the case of mare, where the medullary part is the outer region of an ovary, and the follicular development is happening in the central part, which will be termed as cortical region, and then there the ovulation only happens on a particular area. The ovulation fossa there is present, then ovulation fossa is used by the ovary to basically release the ovum. In other animals, ovum can be released from any surface where the pre-ovulatory follicle will develop. Any surface, let's say, and rupture and then release the pre-ovulatory follicle. But the difference in the case of mare is that the cortical region is the central region, and then the connective tissue medulla is surrounding the ovary from outside, and then it required a specific area from where the pre-ovulatory follicle will reach, and then will going to release its ovum there. Now looking at an actual micrograph, the outermost dark line at this magnification is the germinal epithelium, and then inside the eosinophilic component, due to the collagen content, is where the cursor is moving now, is tunica albuginea, and then this whole area from all the side is cortex. Why? Because it have all the different level developmental follicles present. And then the centermost area in this particular micrograph, where there is no event follicular development is happening, only it is having connective tissue and blood vessels which are entering and providing nourishment. That area is termed as medullary region. Now moving towards different types of follicles which can be found in the cortex and of ovary. The initial most follicle which is present in thousands and millions of number in the ovary, it is primordial follicle. What is constant in all these different types of follicles, that they contain an arrested primary oocyte in the very center, which is surrounded by a protein layer which is termed as zona pellucida. In a primordial follicle, the oocyte is surrounded by simple squamous type of cells, which are here labeled as follicular cells. And this is the histological feature for the identification of primordial follicle. In a micrograph. If we talk about their location, so we will take help from the previous micrograph just to identify them. All these smaller structures which are quite outside and quite they are present at the initial part of the cortex of the ovary. All these smaller structures which are not that much clear, but we can easily see that they are the cross sections of those follicles. They are all primordial follicles. Then next, when animal get puber, under the influence of different hormones released by pituitary gland, the follicular cells then increase their height. They become cuboidal from squamous, but still they have a simple single layer. So that next level follicle is termed as unilamellar, means single layer primary follicle. Why it is single layer? Because of the presence of single layer follicular cells. Still, at this stage, the term for the name used for these cuboidal cell will be still follicular cells. That is important to remember. The next thing, that with the development of follicles, what is happening outside the follicular cells that the stromal cells or the connective tissue cells of the cortex, they are also rearranging themselves around the developing follicles to form a distinct layer. We will name this distinct layer in the upcoming level of the follicle. The next follicle, you can easily see that simple cuboidal epithelium is now changed into the stratified cuboidal epithelium, and there is no fully developed zona pellucida appearing outside the oocyte. And then when the simple cuboidal follicular cells is changed into stratified cuboidal epithelium cells. These cells are now termed as granulosa cells. Some texts use both terms. वो यहाँ पे भी follicular cells का नाम दे सकते हैं या follicular cells की single layer के अंदर भी granulosa cells का नाम दे सकते हैं. The next thing that is important, the stromal cells are now arranged clearly in a distinct layer. That distinct layer is termed as theca layer. This theca layer is further divided in two components, theca externa and interna. One of the component is labeled as in this multilamellar primary follicle as theca interna. We will discuss them in upcoming follicular stages. But what is important to name this particular follicle, we are going to name it as multilamellar, but still it is primary follicle. Remember that there are two types of primary follicles, unilamellar and multilamellar primary follicles. The next stage is when these granulosa cells start producing different fluid secretions. They are going to secrete them around themselves, and due to the secretion of those fluids, there will be appearance of multiple small cavities or antrums. So the level of follicle where there are multiple small cavities or antrum, that follicle will be termed as antral follicle or secondary follicle. Now in this follicle, you can easily distinguish that the oocyte is now moving towards one of the corner of the developing follicle, and then the granulosa cells are now separating from each other due to the fluid secretions which are accumulating between them in the form of small cavities or antrums. So the antral follicle have clear-cut indication of secondary follicle that there are cavities, smaller cavities which are appearing between granulosa cell layers. Outside granulosa cell layer, there we have no fully developed stromal layer that is termed as theca layer. This theca layer have inner cellular component and outer fibrous component. This is important to remember that the theca layer have further two sub layers or parts. The inner layer, which is adjacent to the granular layer outside, it is more cellular. It has more cellularity. So this layer is termed as theca interna, and then the outer part of this theca layer, which is more fibrous, that layer is termed as theca externa. Now moving towards mature graphene follicle, as you can see that in secondary follicle there are multiple small cavities. These cavities are going to clash. They are going to unite to form a single large cavity. So the mature follicle or graphene follicle, like this follicle, it has a central large fluid-filled cavity, and due to the and you can easily identify that cavity in indigo color here as there is a central large cavity in the very center. This cavity is antrum. So basically the fluid is going to push the granulosa cells towards the periphery of the follicle, and then oocyte is pushed towards one of the corners. And there are two additional names given to the granulosa cells according to their position. The part of granulosa cell which is going to cover the oocyte from the upper side towards the antrum, these cells are making actually a crown of the oocyte. Those crown, ये हमारे टीचर ने रिमेम्बर ये नाम याद रखने के लिए क्राउन की टर्म यूज की थी, so it's quite easy to remember. On that basis, this crown cell layer of granular cell is termed as corona radiata, and the cells on which the oocyte are resting from the lower side and attaching themselves with the remaining granular cell, those cells group is termed as cumulus oophorus. Outside, the remaining part of the cavity is surrounded by a layered arrangement of granulosa cell, and outside granulosa cell there are the theca layers, theca interna and theca externa, the two components. And the next thing that is going to happen, that under the influence of different hormones, this Griffin follicle is going to rupture and then going to release the ovum and certain cells which is surrounding it. So then we are only left with the granulosa cells and theca cells and a ruptured area which is going to heal itself, and then the next structure which will form will be termed as corpus luteum. It is an endocrine structure which is going to produce certain hormones. फिजियोलॉजी वालों ने शायद डिटेल के साथ आपके इस बात पे डिस्कशन की हो. So the remaining structure after the rupturing or the release of oocyte will be termed as corpus luteum, and within corpus luteum we will have again two different type of cells: the granulosa cells, which will be termed as uh, granulosa luteal cells due to the product structure named as corpus luteum, and then the theca cells will be termed as theca luteal cells. Now, if we look at a low magnified general view of an ovary, so this ovum structure has two different distinct areas. The centralmost area, which is delineated by the digit 2, this is the medulla portion, which don't have any follicular developmental phase happening there. This only connective tissue and blood vessel part will be termed as called medulla, and surrounding this, from all sides, there will be part of connective tissue where all the follicular development is happening in a mature ovary. So that part will be now termed as medulla, as indicated by the line 1. Then just look at the area which is again indicated by dotted line 3. This is the particular area just inside the germinal epithelium and tunica albuginea, where all the small primordial follicles will be present. And then on 4 they are indicating a primordial follicle. Then you have to look at the 5. Why it is secondary follicle? Because there are smaller cavities appearing in the follicle around the oocyte, which is in the center. Not that much clear. Then there are tertiary follicles which have fully developed antrum, but the antrum is now increasing its size. And the last most follicle, which is Griffin follicle, it is the largest follicle present in an ovary. Then there are certain follicles where there is no oocyte in the center. It is going to be antral follicle because the antrum is only visible. For that particular follicle where the oocyte is not visible, ड्यू टू दी सम रीजन, क्या इस सेक्शन में आया नहीं आया तो उनको जनरली हम नाम देंगे एंट्रल फॉलिकल. और एंट्रल फॉलिकल के साथ एक और तरह का फॉलिकल जो 8 के ऊपर दिखाया गया है, आगे हम उसकी डिटेल डिस्कस करेंगे कि किसी भी साइक्लिक एक्टिविटी में सिर्फ एक फॉलिकल डेवलप होना नहीं शुरू होता, बल्कि ग्रुप ऑफ फॉलिकल डेवलप होना शुरू होते हैं. और विद द पैसेज ऑफ ईच स्टेज ऑफ डेवलपमेंट ऑफ फॉलिकल, कुछ फॉलिकल आगे मूव करते हैं और कुछ वहाँ पे उनका regression शुरू हो जाती है, डेथ स्टार्ट हो जाती है. Those follicles which are not going to develop further, they will be collectively termed as atretic follicle. Atresia की term use होगी उनके लिए. Now looking at a more magnified part, on the left side you can easily distinguish a simple cuboidal lining germinal epithelium. Then below germinal epithelium there is a connective tissue component which is tunica albuginea, and just inside tunica albuginea, this is the particular area just start of the cortex where there are all the primordial follicles. We have an oocyte where it have a cytoplasm and arrested nucleus, and then this oocyte is surrounded by a simple squamous follicular cells outside. So these simple squamous follicular cells plus oocyte will be collectively termed as primordial follicle. But on the right side, you can easily now distinguish that oocyte is surrounded by zona pellucida, fully developed proteinous layer, which is separating it from the neighboring granulosa cell layers. And now Why it is granulosa cell layer? Because it is present in multiple layered arrangement. फोलिकुलर लेयर्स, फोलिकुलर सेल्स को हम नाम देंगे जब तक वो सिंगल लेयर में रहेंगे, वो यूनिलेमुलर फोलिकल हो या प्राइमोडियल फोलिकल हो, तो उनके सराउंडिंग सेल्स को, कुबार्टल या स्क्वेमस सेल्स को हम हमेशा नाम देंगे फोलिकुलर सेल्स का, और यहाँ पे हम नाम दे रहे हैं ग्रेनुलोसा लेयर्स, सेल लेयर का, resting on outside on a basement membrane. On the left side again, the oocyte is present in the very center, indicated by the digit 3. 4 is the zona pellucida proteinous layer, and outside proteinous layer there is a single layer of follicular cells, indicated by 2, and this is again unilamellar primary follicle. On the right side, just look at that there are 1 or 2 cavities start to appearing in the multi-layered granulosa cells. So due to appearance of small cavities, no, we are not going to term it multi-layered or multi-lamellar primary follicle, but we are going to name it as secondary follicle. And all these follicles are present in the cortex region of the ovary. Again, two developing follicles. One is fully matured, which is on the right side. It have antrum, then oocyte is pushed towards one of the corners of the developing follicle, and then it is surrounded by different granulosa cell layer, surrounding the crown cells which are facing it from the antral side. The oocyte, they are covering the oocyte from the antral side. They are termed as corona radiata, and the cells on which the oocyte is now resting, they are termed as cumulus ophorus. The remaining cells of the granulosa cell layer are termed as granulosa cell, and outside basement membrane of the granulosa cell there is a fibrous layer of stroma which is termed as theca layer. Again, but on the right side you can see that there are multiple cavities still in this developing follicles. On that basis this will be termed as secondary follicle, because no, it have multiple developing cavities which are not fully developed as in the case of the right side follicle. Moving towards the next part, oviduct, as it is a duct which is conveying the released ovum from ovary towards the site of fertilization if it is has to happen. Then the oviduct have different names. It is termed as fallopian tube. It have three components: infundibulum, isthmus, and ampulla. The characteristic features of the oviduct are same in all these three subdivisions of the oviduct. As it is a duct, so its layers will be made up of the basic arrangement जो हम पहले देख चुके हैं digestive system में. Basic arrangement तो 4 layers की होनी चाहिए, but the oviduct is again made up of 3 layers, but there is one layer which is missing. We will look into it. The mucosa of oviduct is highly folded. The presence of folds varies between the regions of the oviduct, and the mucosal folds are lined by a simple columnar epithelium. This simple columnar epithelium in case of oviduct have two different kinds of cells: columnar ciliated cells and columnar non-ciliated cells, which are termed as PEG cells, which produce certain secretions, जो आगे हम identify भी करेंगे cells को. And then below epithelium there is a lamina propria oviduct which is composed of loose connective tissue. This lamina propria don't have any glands present. Then in oviduct, due to as it requires strong contraction for the movement of ovum downward, so it will have a very thick muscularis externa composed of smooth muscles, where the inner layer is circular and outer layer is longitudinal. Outside, the oviduct is covered by connective tissue surrounded by a simple squamous epithelium serosa. The serosa is composed of basically visceral peritoneum, or the other name of serosa is visceral peritoneum. Now looking at a cross section of oviduct, in the very center you can see that there is lumen, and lumen is not clearly rounded. It have projections of the mucosa, so the mucosa is highly folded. The first part of the mucosal fold is always epithelium, which is simple columnar epithelium in this case, and the columnar epithelium have two different kind of cells: columnar ciliated cells and columnar non-ciliated cells, pegged cells. The core of each fold is now made up of connective tissue, which is termed as lamina propria, and the surrounding structure outside lamina propria is to be muscularis externa, made up of smooth muscles, and outside smooth muscles there will be a very thin layer of connective tissue surrounded by simple squamous mesothelial cells, making the serosa outermost layer. Again, moving toward the next important component, uterus. The uterus is made up of again three layers, which are equivalent to tunica mucosa, tunica muscula externa, and tunica serosa, but the nomenclature used in uterus is quite different by your book. म्यूकोजा के लिए जो नाम यूज किया गया है वो है एंडोमेट्रियम, मस्कुलस एक्सटर्ना के लिए जो नाम यूज किया गया है वो मायोमेट्रियम का है, और ट्यूनिका सिरोजा के लिए जो नाम यूज किया गया है वो है पेरीमेट्रियम का. So the area which is covered in this cross section, this is a cross section taken from uterus. The area closed by the dotted line 1 is all belonging to endometrium, which is equivalent of tunica mucosa. The endometrium is lined by simple columnar epithelium indicated by arrows on 9, and then this simple columnar epithelium doesn't stay onto the surface, but it's invaginate deep inside the endometrium to form uterine glands. So all these cross sections which are appearing tubular glands, these tubular glands are actually the invaginations of the surface epithelium down into the lamina propria component, which is termed here as stroma. So inside the stroma, these enfoldings which are appearing tubular, they are the endometrial or uterine glands, which produce certain secretions which are required for the normal functionality of the organ. And this endometrium is further divided into different zones, which changes in different phases of the cyclic activity. The upper region, which is indicated by, which is covered by the dotted line 4, where the glands in this case are more tubular towards surface, this layer is termed as functional layers or pars functionalis. Below that, and this is the layer which, if fertilization is not going to happen, then it is going to being disrupted and released along with the menstrual secretions and blood outside. तो फंक्शनल लेयर डिस्टर्ब होती रहेगी और बाद में दोबारा से नीचे से जो रिमेनिंग पोर्शन है, which is indicated by 5, which is the basal layer of the uterus or pars basalis, it is going to form the functional layer of the endometrium. So endometrium is consisting of two further sublayers, the functional layer, which is the superficial layer, and the basal layer, which is the more towards the base, and then the area indicated by 8 is stroma, which is equivalent of the lamina propria, and then the pointed structures which are indicated by 7, they are the uterine glands, which are the invagination, tubular invagination of the surface epithelium, and then the area indicated by the arrow 2 or the muscular layer, the myometrium, which is equivalent of muscularis externa. It is quite thick in case of uterus, have longitudinal and circular smooth muscles in it, but they are not arranged in clear demarcated layers. And then the outside pointed area 3 is the perimetrium, equivalent of tunica serosa. Now, if you look at the endometrium part clearly, which is covered by the arrow 1 and separated by the myometrium, which is indicated on arrow 2 by dotted line, you can easily distinguish between the two layers. We were discussing lastly that the endometrium is divided in two layers, functional layer, which is the more superficial layer, and then the basal layer, which is the more deeper layer. The functional layer में देखें तो it have more tubular glands opening towards the surface epithelium, which is simple columnar in this case. This layer will appear quite differently under different phases of the female cycle. proliferative phase is there, then secretory phase is there, then menstrual phase is there. Animals and एनिमल्स में ये टर्म तो यूज नहीं होगी, बट क्योंकि हम बरो कर रहे हैं ह्यूमन हिस्टोलॉजी से, तो देर आर 3 डिफरेंट फेजेस जो हमें मिलेंगे. तो ऑन डिफरेंट फेजेस the difference in the endometrium will come in the most superficial layer, which is the functional layer. Basal layer will remain the same, and it is basically acting as the stem cell layer for the functional layer, and it will reproduce the functional layer, which is basically erupted in the case if the fertilization is not happening. यहाँ पे भी नंबर वही हैं जो प्रीवियस हमने डिस्कस किए हैं. Now this is more magnified part of the functional layer, where the 7th digit is indicating the invagination of the surface epithelium, 9 as the uterine glands, and the 8 is indicating the stromal component, the connective tissue component, which is surrounding these uterine glands. Now look at these two different figures. We were discussing lately that the functional layer will appear quite differently in different phases of the female reproductive cycle. They will appear more elongated, tubular in the proliferative phase, where the proliferation of the functional layer is happening, it is proliferating, and they will appear more tortuous. Tortuous mean कि उसके अंदर twist आना शुरू हो जाएंगे tubular part के अंदर, which is indicated by these twisted cross sections of the tubular layer or the uterine glands. So this is an indication that now uterus is in the secretory phase. तो इसकी बेस के ऊपर भी आपने माइक्रोग्राफ होमवर्क शीट में आइडेंटिफाई करने हैं कि यूट्रस में अगर मोर elongated tubular gland नजर आएंगे तो you will say that it is a uterus which is in proliferative phase, and if they are appearing more tortuous or more irregular folded uterine glands are appearing in the endometrium, so you will say that it is now in the secretory phase, and then the surrounding part around gland will be the stromal component. The next component which we have discussed is vagina. Vagina is again made up of 3 layers: tunica mucosa, tunica muscularis externa, and adventitia. In case of mucosa, the lining epithelium is, case of vagina, is stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, and a very characteristic feature of the lining epithelium in case of vagina, that the squamous cells, which are more superficial or in the middle layer where the cursor is moving, is appearing empty. Why? Because under the influence of one of the hormones, जो आपको assignment भी होगी कि वो कौन सा हार्मोन है जिसकी इन्फ्लुएंस के अंदर यहाँ पे एपिथेलियल सेल्स ग्लाइकोजन को स्टोर करना शुरू कर देते हैं, और वो ग्लाइकोजन स्टोर होती है इन सुपरफिशियल और मिडल स्क्वेमस सेल्स के अंदर, और उस सिक्रीशन जब हम स्लाइड बनाते हैं तो वो ग्लाइकोजन यहाँ से डिसअपियर हो जाता है, जिसकी वजह से ये सुपरफिशियल और मिडल सेल लेयर एम्प्टी नजर आएगी. वेरी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर ऑफ द स्लाइड, हायर मैग्नीफाइड इमेज ऑफ द विजाइना. और वो ग्लाइकोजन, अब आपका जो असाइनमेंट है, बेसिकली यू हैव टू लुक फॉर द हार्मोन अंडर द इन्फ्लुएंस व्हिच द ग्लाइकोजन इज स्टोर्ड टेम्परेरीली हियर, और जब डिसरप्शन होगी तो ग्लाइकोजन रिलीज होगी, तो उसकी सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है, व्हाई इट इज रिलीज्ड and what is its significance. This is more the superficial part of the mucosa. The epithelium, below epithelium there is a very dense irregular connective tissue, lamina propria component. There is no submucosa, there is no muscularis mucosae. Then comes the muscularis externa, which is made up of smooth muscles. They are longitudinal and circular muscles, but they are quite indistinct to be separated on a micrograph. And then outermost, the adventitia is going, that is only connective tissue, which is going to make the connection of the vagina with the surrounding organs. On low magnified image, which is on the left side of this micrograph in this slide, the student can confuse vagina with esophagus because it is again lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, but you must have to understand that in esophagus there is muscularis mucosae very well developed first, which is not the case in vagina. Second, in submucosa connective tissue in esophagus there are esophageal glands, but here we don't have any submucosa level connective tissue, and there are no glands there. These are the 2 or 3 features which help students to distinguish an actual micrograph representing vagina or esophagus. Lastly, we have to now look at the mammary gland, और mammary gland में भी मैं थोड़ा सा brief description दूंगा ताकि आप लोग book जरूर पढ़ें. Mammary gland is a modified type of sweat gland. It is a compound tubal alveolar gland where there are multiple alveoli which are producing milk secretions, and then those secretions are carried out from the gland by different level of ducts. The alveoli are arranged in different lobules. Then there are ducts which are present within the lobule, they will be termed as intralobular duct, and then ducts which are present between lobules, they will be termed as interlobular duct, and then those interlobular ducts will reach out the lactiferous duct, which is going to secrete their secretion into the sinuses, and which is going to lead into the teeth canal, and from teeth canal it is going to be excreted out. Mammary gland micrographically are quite variable. They can be in resting phase, they can be in production phase, depending upon if the animal is producing milk or if it is resting phase. One of the micrograph which is the micrograph which is now on display, it is in resting phase, and the clear-cut indication that there are no active alveoli visible. There are only small clusters of ducts, which are the smallest level of ducts, which are the source of alveoli. Any ducts से फिर bird करेंगे alveoli, and one of the clear indication to differentiate or demarcate between the active and resting mammary gland is the amount of fibrosarcoma. In resting mammary gland alveoli disintegrate कर जाएंगे, degenerate कर जाएंगे, और उनकी जगह ले लेगा fibrosarcoma and adipose tissue. So there are small clusters of ducts which are only visible, and between them there are the interlobular ducts which are quite large. इनकी एपिथीलियम आपने देखनी है, लाइनिंग एपिथीलियम. लास्ट में मैं इसका सोर्स भी बता दूंगा जहां से आपने इसको पढ़ना है और नोट डाउन करना है. Then next, this is now an actual micrograph, an active mammary gland. Now look at the stromal component. Now the stromal component is now quite reduced, and it has been, the space has been taken by the active alveoli which are producing secretion, और वो secretion आपको दरमियान में eosinophilic या pinkish सूरत में temporarily alveoli के अंदर नजर भी आएगी, which is basically the milk proteins which are present inside the alveoli जो eosinophilic color ले रही होंगी. And then there will be different levels of duct. But comparing this slide with the previous slide, you can easily distinguish that there is higher content of stroma and adipose in resting mammary gland, and then an active mammary gland which is during the pregnancy or during the lactating phase, जब mammary gland अपने आप को develop कर रहे होते हैं pregnancy में या actively secrete कर रहे होते हैं, so the major area in the mammary gland is now occupied by the alveoli which have bud from the last level ducts which were there, simple cuboidal line ducts. उनसे ये bud करेंगी और alveoli बनेगी, and there will be secretions of milk proteins in the very center. तो इस बेस को देखते हुए you have to use these 2 resources which I am going to share with you people. तो इन दोनों resources को use करते हुए you are requested to complete your assignment के memory gland में आपने resting और active memory gland की तमाम histology देखनी है, lining epithelium कौन सी है, ducts की, alveoli की lining epithelium कौन सी है, different levels of ducts कौन से हैं, फिर मेमोरी ग्लैंड्स में एक्टिव और रेस्टिंग मेमोरी ग्लैंड्स में डिफरेंसेस लिखने हैं, एंड लास्टली व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ ग्लाइकोजन एंड व्हाट इज द हार्मोन व्हिच इज acting on these squamous cells so they can accumulate glycogen inside them. So this is your assignment, and I will expect कि आप next week में ये assignment मुझे submit करेंगे in written form, both morning and evening students. With this, I will request you again, please go to these resources, online resources, virtual